Hello, and welcome to CMS Forex News. Alexander Shapiro reporting. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2008. The main story today was the jump in the US dollar following a speech by Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke. He stated that the bank is attentive to the depreciation of the dollar. The slide in the greenback since the Fed began cutting rates in September has added inflationary pressures as this caused the prices of imports, including crude oil, to rise. Prior to the New York Open, the euro was gaining as a result of some strong Eurozone fundamentals. But in the hour following Bernanke's remarks, the dollar surged 150 pips to a two-week high against the euro. The dollar got a boost as the chairman's statements confirmed the Fed is definitely done cutting rates. Eurozone GDP growth for the first quarter was revised up to 0.8% from its initial 0.7% estimate. Growth was led by strong investment and the strongest quarter in Germany in 12 years. A mild winter helped the German construction sector. Despite the good report, the second quarter is shaping up to be weaker as recent sales, manufacturing, and consumer confidence levels have declined. A second report showed annual producer prices in the Eurozone climbing 0.8% for the month of April and 6.1% annually, the highest in more than 7 years. Both figures matched forecasts. The gains were led by higher energy and food costs. The data implies that the ECB will continue their policy of holding interest rates steady at 4%. In the U.S., factory orders rose 1.1%, a second month of gains and better than forecasts. A weaker dollar is making American-made goods more attractive to overseas buyers. Looking forward, factory orders may tighten as domestic demand is being hampered by high raw material costs and weak consumer and business spending. The dollar-yen pair saw a strong climb from its low near 104 earlier in the session. It rose 150 pips from that support to test 105.5, the level at which it started the week. U.S. stocks were mixed, but carry trade sentiments that helped boost the yen yesterday were somewhat reversed today. The pound-yen, for example, paired about half of yesterday's massive 450 pip downswing. The pair found support overnight at the 204 level. Stocks in Europe and London performed well overnight after taking a beating yesterday. In Switzerland, consumer inflation increased to the fastest pace in 15 years, with prices rising to an annual rate of 2.9% for May. On the month, prices were up 0.8%, matching last month's level and almost doubling expectations of economists. The dollar-franc pair hit a low near 1.0275 in the hours following the Swiss CPI data. But just like in other dollar crosses, the greenback zoomed higher following Bernanke's speech. Still, the higher-than-expected inflation data will add extra pressure on the Swiss National Bank, which meets on June 19th, to revise their inflation expectations and put out a more hawkish statement. The Reserve Bank of Australia kept rates at 7.25% despite recent data pointing to higher inflation. The policy members think that domestic demand will moderate, causing price pressure to ease in the medium term, though inflation will remain high in the short term. Data from Australia showed building approvals increasing 7.8% for April, as demand for new housing picked up despite 12-year high interest rates. In a second release, the current account widened to a smaller than expected 19.5 billion Australian dollars in the first quarter. As a result of a higher Aussie and an outgoing shipments bottleneck, imports outpaced exports. The Australian dollar-US dollar pair set an intraday high above 0.96 following the two Australian releases. From there, it fell 100 pips, finding support at 0.95 as greenback strength dominated the markets during New York trading. Tonight, the UK releases data on consumer confidence. Australia posts its GDP figures for the first quarter and its services PMI. Japan releases data on capital spending. Overnight, the UK also reveals its BRC Shop Price Index. More releases overnight include Eurozone Services PMI and retail sales. Tomorrow morning, the U.S. will post its ADP employment change, labor productivity, and costs, along with its ISM non-manufacturing index. Join us again for another edition of CMS Forex News right here at cmsfx.com.